Alright, folks. It's a little late, so I'm going to try to talk down a little bit so that I don't wake anybody up. But, alright. Basically, I am here to review X-Men Days of Future Past. Just saw it tonight. It was like an early preview thing. Midnight show, whatever. Well, except it was like 10 o'clock, but yeah. Early show. And basically, the first thing I have to say about this movie is it reminds me of movies like Die Hard, American Beauty, the original Star Wars trilogy, even more recently the Lego Movie. These are movies that as soon as the movie's over, I have this sensation that I'm like, you know what, that was so good, I just want to watch it over again. That's what I felt after X-Men Days Future Past. This is by far the best live-action movie I've seen all year. This blows Captain America the Winter Soldier out of the water. I haven't gotten that review done yet, but I enjoyed that movie quite a bit. This was amazing. This far surpasses Iron Man 3, the best comic book film of last year. And looking at even like The Dark Knight Rises and The Avengers, this is like on that level of awesome. This is just a splendid movie, action-packed, wonderfully cast and wonderfully performed by the cast. It's the most charismatic I've seen Hugh Jackman in. Well, then again, you have to take my word for it with a little grain of salt, though. As far as the other X-Men films, I've only seen the first one and the First Class. And First Class I thought was an awesome adventure. And it's been so long since I've seen the first one that I remember I didn't hate it. So yeah, that's about all I can offer on that. So yeah, basically all I have to say is this movie was great from start to finish. Basically all I can say is the plot of the movie involves the X-Men of the current day, so to speak, and that's in a futuristic world where giant robots called Sentinels have taken over, pretty much, and the world's worst, like we have in the DC world, we have world's finest. Imagine world's worst, have taken over, and we don't really know who that is. Basically, all they do is they're sending out Sentinels to round up whatever mutants are left and kill them. And basically, the few that remain, including, as we see in the previews, Charles Xavier and Eric, no idea, Leshing something? I don't know. I'm not a huge comic book reader into this either. I have read a couple of storylines in the comics, though. I've read up on Days of Future Past. I've read up on the death of Jean Grey. I've even read up on the God Loves, Man Kills. And that one would make an interesting story, too, to bring to the big screen. It would be a little bit sillier and a little bit hokier, but it would work, in a way. Because pretty soon after that, you had the X-Force come in, too. And I know Fox has been talking about maybe making an X-Force movie and expanding their X-Men universe. And if you did God Loves, Man Kills, you could have a scene, where the original X-Force people break off, and from the X-Men. And I'm not trying to spoil anything, but the movie here, X-Men Days Future Past, kind of sets it up so that they could do that maybe in the future. But right now, their plans are for X-Men Apocalypse to come after this. And I'm really excited to see what they can do for that as well. But sticking with Days Future Past, so yeah, basically Wolverine has to be sent from the future world to the past world, which is the 70s, and there's all sorts of great 70s lore jokes that we get in a lot of fish-out-of-water stories. This one doesn't really feel that way, because, Wolverine, he's lived the 70s. He's lived for a long time, actually. But, we get, like, The Price is Right is thrown in there, and Star Trek, and Sanford and Son was great. Seeing all these different things in the clothing, and Nixon, of course, is the president, so yeah, we get all sorts of great stuff. Porn stashes. You even see on the main villain, Peter Dinklage, he's got a stash going, and so yeah, I mean, it's a really great time. By the way, too, it's not just all serious. It does have, definitely in its futuristic scenes, a dark pitch black tone. And it's a tone that maybe at times is unforgiving. Like, there's some parts where, not to spoil anything, and we really get the idea of it, especially if you see the last trailer they put out. There are mutants that die in this, and it's kind of like merciless. We definitely get the idea that the Sentinels are just totally unblinkingly evil, and that they're cold, they're calculated, they're menacing, and they're an enemy that you don't want to confront. For sure, and there is time travel in there, so not to spoil anything again, but we see like mutants die twice. It's kind of in that ballpark where you're just like, man, this is, it's an interesting way to tell a story. So then we've got that going on. It's a smaller part of the movie, but then the main part, the part that I really, really enjoyed though, was that 70s stuff, and really though. What I enjoyed highly, highly out of this was the whole thing going on with Xavier and with Eric. I have no idea whatever. Yeah, I haven't read that far into it yet. But basically, Mystique is in the past too, and she's trying to kill Peter Dinklage's character, Trask. Bolivar? Yeah, that's right, Bolivar Trask. And if she kills him, the whole future's set in motion so that Sentinels take over and kill everybody, basically. And it's the last chance of the mutants, here for them to live, period. So yeah, this is an important movie for sure in this franchise. It's the 7th entry, and it's the 3rd one I've seen. It was the first one I actually saw in the theater. And I have to say, the theatrical experience of this is something that's like, what have I been missing, And I don't know. Of course, the reputations of Last Stand and X-Men Origins have just deepened my excuse, so to speak, for not catching up on X2 and even the Wolverine, which were 2 well-received films in there. And X2 is also called the best one up until this point. But I'm pretty sure, just from the reviews like Rotten Tomatoes, this is the last time I checked, it was at 92%. And, so yeah, this is getting glorious reviews, and I think they're worth every penny of it. Really, this is a fantastic movie. I enjoyed, literally, I could not think of any moment where I thought of, well, and of course, this is just all from a first viewing experience. I probably need some time to think about this a little bit before I go off and criticize much. But basically, the only things I could think of there were a couple of moments with Eric where he was trying to be bad and evil in the movie, so to speak. And those parts kind of felt a little draggy, a little unnecessary, and they kind of just built up to the climax, and it kind of felt like it was just another layer to the point where you're just like, oh, okay, I'm expecting, like a future, like a past version of like Storm or somebody to come in and screw it up even further. Where you get that feeling of, you're in a movie, and you get that feeling of, okay, they've thrown the entire kitchen sink at the good guys. Now what are they going to throw? And you keep thinking about it. You thinking, there's a lot going on. Sometimes it kind of convolutes. One thing, though, that the movie does perfectly, I have to say, is it transitions from future to past very well. Part of that is because of, I have to credit probably the cinematographer and the director for this. The future scenes are dark, very dark. The lighting is like, there's no lighting. Not even a flashlight on set, pretty much. And the light and the earlier stuff is lighter, and it's a much lighter tone, and it's a kind of cheerful, happier tone. And yeah, so I'm definitely giving props to that. There's been definitely some movies recently, Man of Steel, that really, and especially in the comic book world here, that are really bad at that, because everything starts to look monotonous. It looks monotonous. It looks the exact same. Here we've got difference. Huge difference. and it's a great deal to be able to express joy from that. Also, I couldn't remember too much shaky cam, handheld cam. I think I have to credit again the cinematographer and Bryan Singer for that. Thank you. I am, because Captain America: The Winter Soldier had a little bit of that, but it was to the point where I was like, well, the story in that is so good, and and the acting and everything in that movie was so good, it kind of overcomes that. But at the same time, it's there, and it annoys me a little bit. But here, yeah, as far as I could tell here, I didn't find any shaky cam here. That's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So yeah, let's get to the parts that I really like, and I'll try not to spoil anything. But yeah, basically this is a movie that, once it starts, you're in. I think even if you have hardly a clue of what's going on in the X-Men universe, and I was kind of half in the dark going into this one, because I had seen X-Men First Class, and I've not seen it since I've only seen it twice. And the second time I saw it was, I think, close to 2 years ago now. So that's kind of shaky a little bit. I remembered, that Michael Fassbender, James McAvoy, Jennifer Lawrence, even, what's his name? Oh, I'm thinking of all the actors. Like, I recognize these actors, and I realize, what roles they play. Nicholas Hoult, that's it, the Beast character. Yeah, I was like, I recognized them, and I remembered everything that happened there. I remembered how the movie ended, that, Kevin Bacon got a coin through his head, that Eric got a hold of the helmet thing, that I guess blocks off powers, and that, that Mystique was pretty much going to be a villain, and that, and I remembered all that. And Charles, ended up being a paraplegic because of stupid Eric and his, moving his hand the wrong way. I wonder if he does that anywhere else. Masturbation joke. Okay, that's enough of that. It's kind of late, so I'm kind of sleepy too, so my mind is kind of wandering everywhere. So yeah, the chemistry that you feel between a lot of characters really comes off as the glue that holds this movie together. Because you have this fantastical plot going around. You have mutants here in the future, mutants in the past, and you've got Sentinels, and they're in both worlds. They're going to kill, or I shouldn't say both worlds, they're in both times, and they're killing mutants, and it's an impending war, and it's an impending doom, and it's, and it's all this stuff that's going around, and it could easily just fall apart, get confusing, and, and the lighting, like I said, the tone helps, definitely, and having, like, no humor, a sense of humor, that very much helps. Having, different actors, that helps, and not a whole lot of characters that are in both helps immensely. So yeah, I'm just saying that, but the glue that holds it all together is you feel like these characters are starting somewhere and they're ending somewhere. You feel like, the characters, even in the future, they're realizing, the mistakes that were made in the past, and they have to, and they're saying, these are the consequences that we faced. That ultimately we have, we can point the finger at the Sentinels and say, you're the ones that brought us here. It's your fault that the mutants are dead. In actuality, they can only point it here. It's their fault. They didn't, and of course, as Charles and Eric say, in the future, we didn't, and it's a line in the movie, they said we didn't know any better. And it's kind of that idea, that there are consequences, and this applies to a whole lot in the movie, too, is there are consequences for just letting the tiniest little things go. Like, there's several points in the movie where Eric's character could kill somebody. And he's got the power to bend metal and to send metal wherever he wants to send it. He could kill people, like, practically instantly. But he doesn't do it. Or maybe he does do it. Maybe I'm trying to confuse you here. And not doing it or doing it, causes a consequence in the future. And you definitely feel between the Eric and the Charles in the future, especially when we get to the ending of the film in the third act, you feel they're just like, dude, I'm so sorry that we were enemies, And you feel that bond, that starts to grow between them where you're like, because and for me personally, even though I haven't seen the X-Men trilogy, I know that Ian McKellen as Magneto was there throughout the whole trilogy, so I know he didn't like get knocked off halfway through or something, and that he's just magically appearing here in this movie. And of course, seeing First Class, I saw these guys were buddies. These guys were very good friends. And then crap happens, and then they're enemies. And you get that sense of just like forgive and apologeticness, forgiveness, and just stuff that it's as simple as that. It's as simple as if we were not enemies back then, this would never have happened. All these people, I shouldn't say people, all these mutants and people who helped the mutants are dead because of us and because we held a grudge. And you feel that, and you're just like, the power of that is really strong, actually. And then the chemistry you feel between Wolverine and Beast is very good. And the chemistry between Charles, the younger Charles, and Wolverine is great. The toe-to-toe that we get between Xavier and Eric in the younger days is ultimately probably the best part of this whole movie. And my favorite scene in the movie is there's a great escape scene in the movie. It brings to mind Toy Story 3 and The Great Escape. Movies like that where there's like a caper feel to it, and it's just flat out hilarious in one sense, and it's just ultimately just the most entertaining part of the movie for sure, up to that point. And then they follow it up pretty soon with a scene where Charles and Eric are talking to each other, and they're in an airplane. You kind of see it in the trailer there where Xavier basically says, you took the things that mean the most to me, and then Eric says, you should have fought harder for him, and you get, even in just little things here and there before we even get to that scene, in like the 2 minutes of screen time where they're face to face, you feel where they've been, and it's I think it's like 10 years, 11 years after First Class, and yeah, Xavier's changed. We figure out what happened to Eric. He's in prison, and for what? I'll leave it to the movie to give it to you. I won't spoil it. And so that there's a scene where they fight verbally, not physically, which I thank God for, because that was it probably blows things out of proportion, and it takes away just the power of just how verbal battles like this can be just as intense, just as thrilling, and just as smartly well done as the physical stuff. And there's a lot of physical stuff in the movie. There's a lot of verbal stuff in the movie, and they pretty much equal out. And it's the first time in a long time that I think a comic book movie's been able to balance it. The best come to mind. Movies like The Dark Knight. You had the epic and this is a great example too. You had the epic physical confrontation of Joker versus Batman. He's got a bat pod. He's just standing there. Hit me. He can't hit him. And then right after that, like maybe 5 minutes later, we get the verbal battle. Batman and Joker in an interrogation room talking it out, dueling it out. And even though Batman throws a few punches in there, it's a verbal battle through and through. And it's an amazing example, and X-Men Days of Future Past has scenes like that. And scenes that just wow you, absolutely, and knock you off your feet, and your ass probably too. But yeah, it's like incredible. And it just feels so real. So real. Even in this world where people can bend stuff that are metal, people can adapt to anybody. There's robots running around. That realistic feel comes from the bond of the characters and the relationships of the characters. And I haven't even gotten to Jennifer Lawrence yet and her connections, with Charles, with Eric, with with Bolivar Trask, who she wants to kill. And it's incredible just the way they were able to bend all these together into a story that at the same time had so much going on. that you feel like it would take 6 hours to explain this story and to tell this story. But they do it in 2 hours, 10 minutes, and it feels slightly longer, but in the best way possible. It feels like it's so stuffed that it's, I don't know how to explain it. It's hard to explain, but basically it feels like a 2-hour, 25-minute movie, even though it's only 2 hours, 10 minutes. And there's moments, where it's free and it's fun, and then there's, it's pretty, to the dot, moving along. My favorite characters, I just love the scenes with Xavier and Eric and all their confrontations going on. Even Logan, Wolverine, he gets a lot of cool moments in the movie. Beast gets a surprisingly good amount of great scenes in there where he's not just Beast, where he's the, I don't know, Hank? Yeah, that's right, Hank. And Jennifer Lawrence, of course, is Mystique. Still sexy, if I don't mind myself saying that. But even when she's not in that gorgeous blue, slightly revealing wear, so to speak, even when she's just it's actually Jennifer Lawrence. Her performance is really great, and her character comes through. And even when she's, like Bolivar Trask in one part, and she's another guy, and she's swift watching, who she is, you feel like it's one central character, and that's and you have to credit the other actors, of course, too, for that. But yeah, it feels like one central character, and that's really hard to do, I think. And of course, Jennifer Lawrence is one of our best actresses in Hollywood today. That's under the age of 30, and her and let me think about this for a minute. Her and Shailene Woodley is fantastic, and especially we got that with her performance last year in The Spectacular Now, a movie that I'm still going to bring up examples for stuff. Even isn't Ellen Page under the age of 30? Because her performance in Juno was flat out fantastic, and she was in the movie too, by the way. That's why I'm thinking of her probably. I know Natalie Portman's not under the age of 30, and I know that even Anne Hathaway is not. She's over 30. Yeah, but I'm just thinking of like these younger actresses, the ones that we're going to get for another 20, hopefully 30, 40 years, delivering fantastic performances. Anything they're in, boom, I'm there, because it's a display of talent. And I kind of lost track there, but basically, the one character that totally, just took me by surprise was Quicksilver. Oh man, just hearing about this movie beforehand, hearing about all these different characters, I was like, who the hell is Bishop? And who the hell is Shadowcat? And then I figured out who she was after I read a little bit on the storylines. And I was like, who the hell is, I was naming off all these stuff. I knew who Sunspot was and Iceman was, but I had no idea who, like, Bishop and there's somebody named Blink and all these others. I was like, I don't know who these people are, and I was like, Quicksilver, I knew about him from the Avengers, that he was in the Avengers in the comics for a while, and he's going to be joining the Avengers, I think, in Age of Ultron. I was like, I felt like, and especially since Fox did the terrible thing of announcing that Quicksilver was going to be in Days of Future Past right after Marvel, stole the thunder of saying this is going to be Quicksilver. In our Avengers movie, and then all of a sudden Days of Future Past is like, wait a second, we got him first, technically, and now I have to say Aaron Taylor Johnson can suck it. this other Quicksilver, how can you do better than that? The character just totally took me by surprise. He was so likable. Even we hear in the trailer, Charles says, he's a pain in the ass, and in the movie you kind of get that sense of, man, a day in this guy's life would be so much fun. Basically, and he only gets maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes in the movie, But man, those 6, 7, 8 minutes are just entertaining. And if you had to really, if you wanted this film to be 100% perfect to satisfy your maximum audience potential, take those 8 minutes and just put them on loop for 2 hours or whatever, and people would eat it up. I think, I seriously think if they want to bring this Quicksilver character into more movies and give him a bigger role, because I know in this movie it is hard to keep going with him because he's only in a certain part of the movie where he needs to be there. After that, he would kind of feel like a second stringer. It'd feel unnecessary. So and I know in this movie you got this scale going on. It's hard to say I got to put you on the bench for now. But seriously, I mean, this character, I don't know if on set if they knew he would work so well or not, but yeah, I mean, whatever Aaron Taylor Johnson presents now as the other Quicksilver, it's gonna come off, I think, as a disappointment after this. And just taking a look, like a few months ago, we got our first look at him and his clothes and stuff. I was like, this is lame. He's basically gonna be in 2 background shots, and that's gonna be it. And then here he was in the movie. He was a big part. And we saw him in that last trailer there, and I was thinking, I was like, well, this Quicksilver character, he might work actually. And then I was still kind of skeptical going in, and then I sat down. His part came in the movie. I was like, boom, he stole the show. He absolutely stole the show, even from James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender, 2 terrific talents. Even from Hugh Jackman and Jennifer Lawrence and Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, Ellen Page, Halle Berry, all these other actors. I was just, this cast is immense, absolutely immense. There's lots of characters, and it is kind of hard to to get them all together and to figure out what's going on. But yeah, I think I've got a pretty good handle on it. For my 3rd X-Men movie, I think that's worthy of some applause. So yeah, whatever. Anyways, I have to mention though, the villain though, Bolivar Trask, follows in a great line of villainy. That is, he's a villain that it's the worst kind of villain you possibly can think of. It's the villain that will not stop because they believe, and from their point of view, they're doing the right thing. There's villains like that, that are kind of, like even Magneto, who says, the only way to get humanity to, live and coexist with mutants is for them just to be beneath us, because we can, as he does in the other movie, send coins through their heads. We can impale them with metal. We can, bring... Even with other characters, we can claw them up. We can force them to jump off bridges through telepathy, and all this other stuff. And I'm like, wow, this is crazy stuff to think about, really. And so to that point, Bolivar Trask, just in thinking he's doing the right thing, containing mutants, and he says it in the movie. Not to spoil anything, but he kind of says, I'm not here to kill them. He says, I'm here to, to bring mankind together and to say, that mutants could rise above us. And even here when we're, with Vietnam, which ends in the movie, by the way. I don't know if you could tell that from the trailer or not. They're in Paris at one point for the peace thing that went on. And basically he says, this is like, this is a chance for all countries to come together and say that this is a problem that we need to contain, but at the same time we don't need to eliminate. So yeah, it's a great villain role, and Peter Dinklage plays it very well. And I was not worried about him. He was actually one of the things I was like, going in, I'm like, even if this movie sucks, I know that Peter Dinklage is going to be safe. And I said, there's few ways in which he can screw this up, because his role, I think, and his level of talent, just outside of Game of Thrones, which I have not seen, but I've heard he is electrifyingly good in. I know he's got talent. He did the movie. I've seen clips of it. I've never actually seen the whole movie, but he did it. It was about 10 years ago, and I completely forgot what it was called, but he was like, I think he was nominated for like a Golden Globe or something for it. He was from the clips I've seen, he's a very good talent in the movie, and it's the title of it is escaping me at the moment, and I should probably end this before I fall asleep on camera. But yeah, basically the whole movie was just a whole hell of a lot of a blast of fun. Even in the more serious moments, you get that sense of, this is a comic book movie. The tone, the camera work, the performances, everything in this movie works almost to pure perfection. And by that, of course, I don't mean absolutely 100% pure perfection, because, perfect, you're never going to accomplish it. It's always in a person's point of view. And so yeah, all I can say is, even if you're not an X-Men fan and you've got maybe somebody in your family or among your friends is saying, dude, you should go see this movie, say yes, say yeah, you'll go to it. Because, even then, even if you walk in cold, they explain it enough that, you can walk right into this, and by the end of the movie you'll have it pretty much figured out. At least 75-80% of it, of what happened off screen in the other movies figured out. And yeah, I think that's about all I have to say. I have to say, though, it's kind of a spoiler. I did not, and maybe I just didn't catch it, but no Stan Lee. I was so disappointed. I was like, you get him, because I've seen the beginning of, on TV, the Last Stand, and I saw that Stan Lee was in there right away. And he, correct me if I'm wrong, he was in First Class too. So I was like, where is he? I was like, where's Stan Lee? It's not a Marvel. Where's Stan Lee? He's not here. And maybe I missed him. Maybe he's in there, and I just didn't catch him. But yeah, that's about all I have to say. That's my one point where I was like, where's Stan Lee? Of course, that's not a major criticism of the film. But yeah, this is going right up on the top there. The Lego Movie and this, and also I should mention the Grand Budapest Hotel. 3 movies that I've seen this year that absolutely are 10 out of 10 movies. So this is a 10 out of 10. It's the first X-Men movie I get to see in the theater, and for this to be the first one, I think this is a glorious, glorious moment. This was meant to happen. All right. I saw this actually. Before I saw this, I saw Godzilla. I have seen it, and I need time to think, because right now I'm ready to give the film a negative review, but I need time to think about it. Basically, I can tell you that as far as Godzilla is concerned, I was like, well, an hour and 15 minutes in the movie, I stopped caring. I didn't care what happened to the human character. I didn't care what happened to Godzilla, because I kind of got bored in it. That's all I can say for now. I need to think about it. Maybe I'll change my opinion on it later. But right now I'm saying, I'm so bored with that movie. So, and this was, so different. But anyways, yeah. Coming up, what movies are coming out? I kind of want to see the Maleficent, the Disney one with Sleeping Beauty. Yeah, I think my curiosity in that film kind of peaked a few months ago. So lately, and it seems like the marketing push has really downgraded in the last couple of weeks here. It almost feels like the movie's already come out, or it's longer on, like it's an August movie instead of a May movie. So I don't know what's happening there. I'm looking forward to The Million Ways to Die in the West from Seth MacFarlane, and I still want to see the Neighbors movie. So yeah, those are a few titles coming out. I'm very on the fence about looking in June, early June at least, about The Fault in Our Stars. It's a book. I've heard about the book. I've talked to people who have read the book, and everybody who says they've read the book has said by the end of the book, they've been bawling their eyes out. And I looked, and of course Shailene Woodley is the main female actress, so I'm like, okay, well, I'm probably going to end up seeing it anyways, just on that basis. And then I looked and I saw who the screenplay was written by. It was the people who wrote, the 2 guys who wrote The Spectacular Now. So I'm like, oh, now we're talking. Okay, and the trailer, is pretty good. It does look like it's maybe a little overbearing and a little hokey at times, but I mean, I'm kind of on the fence about it, and on the fence in a good way. Like, I'm ready to leap over it and say, okay, I'm going to go see it. And of course, I'm not going to miss 22 Jump Street. I was not, and looking in early June, I'll stop with How to Train Your Dragon 2. I saw the first How to Train Your Dragon and the reviews for that, and I have not seen it since I saw it in the theater like 4 years ago now. The reviews for that just seemed totally unworthy. And I don't mean totally unworthy. I enjoyed the movie, but there were a couple of plot holes here and there. I'm like, nobody, everybody looked over this? Yeah, and there's a couple of moments like that in How to Train Your Dragon 1. So How to Train Your Dragon 2, I don't know, the trailers and stuff haven't really given me that sense of, I need to see this. That could change in the next coming weeks. But basically, yeah, how I felt on X-Men Days of Future Past, if Siskel and Ebert were still alive, 2 thumbs up is what it would be. So yeah, 10 out of 10. That's all I got to say. This was an awesome movie. I'm probably not going to sleep very much. I'm going to be very excited, and I cannot wait for this movie to just destroy the box office this weekend. I absolutely want this movie to be a huge hit, and I think it's earned it. It blows the comic book movie we've seen so far this year, Spider-Man 2 and Captain America 2, out of the water. It's like, here comes the X-Men, boom! Just blow them out of the water. This is how you do a comic book movie, and I think this is how you do an X-Men movie, I think. Alright. So until next time, stay in the past, my friends. Or the future. Which is which? That was pretty lame, wasn't it?